ever think that this movie would actually get made? When
No.
you actually sold the rights? You never agreed to let the rights
No,
be?
no. Michael Lewis gave me bad advice. He said every one of his books had been optioned, not one of the movies or a movie had never been made out of any of them. So I figured I went with him, and lo and behold, they made The Blind Side, and Brad read the book, and it was all over.
So, what was your biggest fear? I mean, what were you afraid of?
Listen, I wasn't interested in being the celebrity that comes with a movie and that comes with Brad playing you. I was sort of happy with my existence and had enough fame or infamy. As a father, a husband, and there's a little bit of discomfort. I mean, I got out of the airport today and there's like paparazzi.
I heard you got paparazzi.
Yeah, I'm going like, what are you wasting your film on me? So, all that's a little weird.
Terribly uncomfortable to someone to make a film about you, and to try to condense, something about you in 2 hours in a little 2-hour package. I mean, there's 100 ways it can go wrong.
It's true.
A couple of ways it can go right.
You fought to get this movie made through thick and thin. It got killed. It went down, and Soderbergh was, the studio pulled out. I mean, why did you fight so hard? What was so important to you?
Several reasons. I'm a lover of 70s films, and in those films, you have these stories where it's not about a character arc. The character is the same beast at the end of the film as they are in the beginning. Maybe they evolve a little, they devolve a little, but the world around them has changed just a degree or two. And I felt that inherently in this story, and especially in the ending, and it all happened. It was just amazing the way it happened. Then there's these elements of value and how we value ourselves and each other, and that value system can be skewed, and these guys tore that down in the process of trying to find a level playing field, and found this whole pool of talent that had been discarded, and thought it was an amazing story.
Well, finding Bennett Miller was part of getting this done, and convincing the studio. And how did you know that he was the right guy, that he was going to do well by you?
I'm not sure he did.
Well, first of all, it's incredibly flattering when you first hear it, and I think once I heard he was doing it, he was committed to it, I had a feeling it was going to get done. But we got to know each other, and the one thing that was interesting, I don't necessarily hang out down here in LA, but Brad, from the first minute he walked in a locker room, and he probably wouldn't say this, he fit right in. We got a fraternity down there, and it's not really accepting to everybody. And within 5 minutes, he was part of that baseball fraternity, whether it be with the clubhouse kids, the people that worked at the ballpark. And so there was a real sense of comfort I had that, listen, he's already he knows how to walk around this place. And there is a certain amount of, arrogance, I think, that it takes to walk into a sports clubhouse that I don't think everybody can pull off. And yeah, it is. Yeah, there is. I mean, listen, that's what the world is about. I mean, it's about, you're around athletes, you're around highly competitive people.
Alpha males.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly
Which
right.
you both are.
There's a sensitive side to me too.
Well, that'll be the sequel.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but the movie humanizes you more than the book.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think I said that in the recent thing we had recently, and I felt the same way because, and I think that was part of myself and Brad getting to know each other. We had spent some time with our families together, and I think he was sensitive as a parent, the portrayal, and I thought that was the part. Even now, I've seen the movie a number of times, and there's not every time the father-daughter with my daughter Casey, who's now a senior in college, there's not a time that it does not still choke me up. And and I live it. I could see it probably 10 more times and feel the same way. So for me, that made everything worthwhile. The throwing things, all that, you can have all that, and I'm fine with all that. But being able to capture, how important my daughter and our relationship is really what made it special to me.
No, that's the heart of the movie.
Billy talked about often that he never missed a weekend with her. That was his time, and that was actually also a respite away from this competitive world and what it meant to him, and certainly something that filled out, rounded out our film, and made a more complete character on film.
But part of the honor that you did him was to keep the slightly recessive character that he has, where he's not out there. the writing has two sides to him. One is much more the presentation, and one is much more private and intimate. And talk about that.
Well, we all have. I looked at the responsibility that Billy has, having to lead this entire organization, and there is a lot of pressure, and you need to be a strong executive and hope you're making the wisest decisions for your organization. But then there's those private times, those internalized times where you're trying to figure out what that next move is going to be. You're thinking strategy. You're thinking that was a misstep. How can I parlay that into something else? And what would this mean if we put these elements together? Fair to say?
Yeah, and your question was great, because part of you has to be an actor because you're trying to change a culture internally as well as facing sort of resistance outside. So there's a bit of Machiavellian side that has to come out, and then, but that's not every party. But I thought your question was actually very, very good.
Well, I think it's also a challenge as an actor to not be huge, to be small. I'm trying to get that across.
Well, I think of it again as those private moments. Those private moments are so weighted, and so that sleepless night you have where you're worrying over maybe the health of your kid, or what the next day is going to bring. And that was, I can't say enough about Bennett Miller. We design these things to show that other side, those dark nights, or that jubilation that he's not going to show everyone else because he can't. It's got to be private.
So one of the other things I love about this is the impact. There's a time frame, since this movie, the book was written, and since the movie, this time period of the movie. What is the real impact that you've had, that this team and your work has had on baseball culture? How deep has it gone? How much is everyone imitating you?
No. It's
and it's still changing.
It's been amazing, and it's not just in baseball. Baseball is, I think, light years in terms of using this sort of analysis. There's not a team that doesn't do it, and some have gone even beyond, especially with technology. But I think the more interesting thing is its impact on sports, even outside the borders, whether it be European football, rugby, cricket. I'm really flattered when you see an article from a foreign newspaper talking about how the England cricket coach had read the book and it impacted how he was, running the England cricket team, or a rugby team in Wales, or an Australian rules football team. And for me, it's incredibly humbling. I don't feel responsible for it. It's this momentum that's been, I think, for Michael's genius in sort of capturing. Michael has this great ability to sort of pop into whether it be writing The Big Short or jumping into Moneyball. He has this incredible sense about what the new thing is, and he's probably the most gifted writer, in my opinion, that's out there, and it's amazing.
He talked about that at the first of 02, saying why this team has a quarter of the payroll. I don't know what the numbers are. How are they winning games? What is going on in there? And I think that was the impetus for the first news article. It started out as an article and an interview, and suddenly he was around a lot longer than.
There's trying to peel back even his recent book. The Boomerang is about the European debt crisis, and here we wake up every morning, and here he was writing about this a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
He's got
I admire him tremendously.
Yeah, it's amazing. So for me, I personally don't feel responsible. I feel part of the story. But to read, Michael's title of his book, and to see that it's beyond these shores and is still being read, it's still on the bestseller list almost a decade later, is really his genius in being part of that story. And then having a Brad a part of it, it's just, we're sort of just all characters in his sort of big play, so to speak.
So one of the pivotal moments in the movie, and the one that really moves me the most, has to do with character. It has to do with making that big decision about whether or not you're actually going to take the big payout. Can you talk a little about why you didn't make that decision?
Yeah, you could have made a whole movie on that night, to be honest with you. You talk about, why didn't I? It was simple. I had made, and I think they captured in the movie, I had made one decision on money in my life when I was 18. My one regret in life, and I don't have a lot, was not going to Stanford University. Not because it was the experience to room with the future governors and future senators and future world leaders, the new tech company. That's an experience you will never be able to recreate. And that's where my heart was. And I signed to play professionally because they were paying me money. And I said I would never do that again. And so on the eve, or at least I accepted it. And as soon as I accepted the job, I realized I'm doing this for one reason, it's the money. And I realized I had more money than my family had ever had in its entire life. I didn't need a bigger house. You've been to my house. I had the same house. I don't need a bigger house. And, I said, this isn't right. I'm doing it for the wrong reason. And you know what? The day I made the decision not to go, I haven't thought about it one word. My life's been even better than I could have hoped.
And did you respond to those values in this story? Is that part of what you thought American audiences would respond to?
Well, I don't think if you agree, if you get seduced by something, you got to consider a 17-year-old kid, this idea of a Major League Baseball team, the Mets, come to you and offer a lot of money. I mean, that's the American dream. You're not old enough to really understand what you really want, what's best for you at that time. And even like when they're giving LeBron James shit at 25, who makes that kind of decision at 25? I mean that's not an easy one to make. So to get to a point in your life where that you have that barometer of knowing this feels right and this doesn't feel right. I mean, I know why this feels right, but to be able to not listen to what we're perceived to do or what allegedly makes us a success, more money or a bigger status, but the thing inside that's telling you, that's guiding you, this is right for me. This is what I want to do, and I think that's the point of it all.
And you're doing it too in your career. You
I
are responsible
am,
for 2 Best Picture nominees.
Well, again, not wholly responsible, but
Tree of
certainly
Life and Moneyball. You pushed up that hill.
certainly helped pull them up the hill, but it took a lot of other people as well.
And you're making career decisions that are not the norm. They're based on something other than money.
And it's not just me, by the way. I mean, a few of my friends are doing the same. But
Was George an influence
George
in that
absolutely
way?
is doing that. And I mean, I actually did one film that cost me money to do it in the end.
Which one?
Jesse James. I had to fly myself there. And, it just cost me money to do that. But it's one I wouldn't trade. Not a great business move, though. But I've done a couple things when I was starting out that just I was doing for career maintenance because I was told to do it, and it didn't fulfill me. So it's the stories that are personal to me. They got to be personal to someone else out there. I don't know how many people, and we'll let those that assign the budget to that determine that. But for me, that's made the difference, and leads to fulfillment, I think.
So what have you got coming up next? You have like 4 things.
No, I did
Ready.
another film with Andrew Dominic from Jesse James.
Back into the fray.
I paid a little bit more, enough to get by on that one. Called, I don't know what it's going to be called. It was called Cogan's Trade at the time.
Right,
And
right.
then I did a big, giant zombie movie
Yeah, that's right.
called World War Z.
London.
Max Brooks book.
Now is that all done?
Not all done. A lot of effects, so it'll be a while.
And how was the Academy lunch today? That is such a scene.
It was such fun. We had this luncheon today
I didn't
that
get
is
invited to that.
yeah, well, there's a reason for that. But it was it was so nice to see everyone off the red carpet, not between commercial breaks, and just have a nice little afternoon.
You were
To talk
standing with
about each
Meryl.
other's stuff, and I got to talk. I mean, and stand next to the great and wonderful Mrs. Streep, and
Rooney Mara, you were up there
Yeah.
with the gang.
yeah, it was alphabetical order.
So
Zalian
that's why I would have had a front table.
He was last. Yeah,
Was
he
that
would have got
right?
there. Zalian had stayed until the end.
Well, so thank you, gentlemen, very
Thank you.
much. I appreciate this.
Thank you.